The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Ladies and gentlemen and the local politicians of our greater area, welcome to the Wednesday edition of Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Patrick.
I'm CJ, and Chip will be joining us a little later as he is at a retirement board meeting with Mary Sahadi, and the actuarials going over the misrepresentation, over the numbers that the city wants to pay for city employee retirements. Boy, talk about mistakes. So sorry for the mistakes. Or am I? I don't know. Oh, God. This is going to be a wonderful thing. Hey, I hear Boston Globe did an article.
Yes.
Actually, a one-way street
the Boston Herald.
The Boston Herald, excuse me.
Howie Carr.
Well, Howie Carr's a wonderful guy. A one-way street would be more apt for Menard, meaning Senator Joan Menard. Talks about she grabbed a paycheck of $120,000 a year here at Bristol Community College.
After a nationwide search.
After a nationwide search, yeah. And to max out your state pension, it helps to have 3 very high-paid years to use your base. Her state pension is now $99,687 a year. Talk about one major important thing.
And she's not a two-way street. She's got her daughter Joni at $84,000. She's got Jennifer's husband at $66,833 at the Lottery Commission. Joan Menard at the Taunton District Court, where she just retired at $65,443. Yes, interesting.
Yeah, and what is this? Screw you, taxpayer! As usual, the people of the
great Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
of the great Commonwealth, take it in the face. And, this is just why we need some drastic changes in our system here in Massachusetts, because this is just poor. It's really poor the way it's currently set up. As many people may or may not know, Republican Handel won the Georgia Special
Karen Handel, former Secretary of State.
Yep, wins the Georgia State Special House election. And the interesting part about it was the Democrats really needed this seat. This is the most expensive election in the history of elections in the United States. They spent over $40 million to get this seat. Between both parties. Okay, to get this seat. And this seat pays what, $100 and some odd thousand a year? Come on.
I have to admit that I did donate money to Karen Handel's campaign.
Well,
It wasn't much. It was only $20, but I had to be part of that.
The interesting thing is this seat has always been a Republican seat. This seat was once held by the House Speaker Newt Gingrich.
Yes.
That's how Republican this seat has been. So a lot of people didn't think that there was a chance that the Republicans would lose this seat.
It was interesting because it was 53% for Karen and 47% for Otoslav, or whatever his name is.
Ossoff, I think it was. Whatever.
I think it's in the paper in front of you.
It might be. But it was very, very interesting that this election went the way. Yeah, John Ossoff, OSSOFF. But this should be a wake-up to the Democratic Party. This whole election should be a wake-up to the Democratic Party. Number one, the Democratic Party under Bill Clinton threw the unions under the bus. They disavowed themselves of all the unions. They turned around now, and they're not waking up yet. They thought, Donald Trump is going to give us the seat. When this victory happened, they chanted, Trump, 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 Trump. Come on. Do you really think it's going to be that easy just because the president is not doing exactly what all the people want?
And
There's still a great vast number of people.
And of course, we're talking about the president that had quite a few primary challenges, and they said, oh, he'll never win.
Right. You know,
Hillary's still saying, oh, I don't know how he won.
I know. So this is just, you know, amazing that people honestly thought that this seat might be lost. And again, was it a potential? Definitely. No question about it. But my question is, and you know, why hasn't it made a significant change, is the Democrats didn't wake up for this election. Because even John Ossoff didn't live in the district.
No, I know.
That was the first thing that came out. So.
Well, we also won in South Carolina last night, too.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out, because the mid-year elections are coming up next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. Wouldn't it be amazing if Massachusetts became a red state?
That's a possibility.
Anything's possible at this point. Anything's possible. And, you know, the problem is, though, that Democrats have always been for welfare, food stamps, and handouts. They've been that way for years. And, again, I'm not totally against the welfare system. I'm not totally against the handouts. I'm against the abuse of them. But they don't want to do anything which curtails the abuse. Because, again, the taxpayer gets screwed. You know, Joe Good over at the Herald News wrote an article on 5 things you need to know about the ongoing flow of budget talks. And on Monday, in the second round of hearings on the proposed $280.7 million budget for fiscal year 2018, some councils continue to express concerns over the administration's revenue predictions, with projections of up to 15.2% increase in local receipts. Before the hearing adjourned, the council voted 8-1, directing the administration to provide supporting documentation regarding any revenue increase greater than 5%. About time they're actually making this administration be held to the fire.
I actually attended that meeting, and the interesting is, I'll bet you can't figure out who the one vote was.
It must have been Steve Long.
No, actually it wasn't.
Who?
JC.
Oh, really? Joe Camara?
Yes.
Well, that doesn't surprise me either, because it's going to be one of the 3.
But Steve Long voted for this, which amazed me.
Yeah, that amazed me too. Well, Steve Camara and Steve Long voting for it really amazes me in a great deal. The salaries of corporate counsel Joe Macy and assistant corporate counsel Gary Howick has been restored to $92,000 and $83,480 respectively from last year. Mayor Correa requested a decrease in their salaries in the fiscal 2017 budget of the 2 attorneys down to $85,000 and $75,000. Amazing how the lawyers don't get screwed.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Corporation Counsel Macy will be getting a $7,000 raise for a part-time job because he's limited.
No, he's not getting a raise. He's staying at the same level he's at.
No, but I'm saying this year he's going from 85 to 92.
No, this year he's at 92. The mayor wanted to down it to 85.
No, actually, what happened was in 2017 he gave him a pay cut. So this year they're restoring the cut back. I mean, they're restoring them back. In 2015 they were at the 92 and 83, right. 480, and then last year they dropped them to 85 because they didn't think they could balance the budget.
Okay, yeah.
So this year they're saying, okay, we're giving it back. But I mean, $92,000 for a job that's part-time because you're limited by your retirement as a judge as to how many hours you can work, that's not bad money.
No, that's not bad. That's not bad chump change.
Nope.
Cliff Ponte noted the mayor has been without a chief of staff for more than 6 months and questioned whether the 78-3 position was necessary and suggested eliminating it as a cost-saving measure to hire another clerk at a reduced salary. I agree.
I absolutely agree with Cliff on that one.
You know, the 2018 budget includes the creation of several new positions and wage changes, which still need to be approved through ordinance by council. These positions include a city architect at $109,000, a director of tourism, and a cultural affairs with a proposed annual salary not to exceed $60,000. That's going to be another political. This is the anus. This is the anus. That's the mayor. City councils questioned the predicted revenue from the pay-as-you-throw program at $2.5 million, citing that since the program's inception, the revenue goals have always fallen short. Oh God, the next hearing's tonight at 6 o'clock. This is going to be fun. But yeah, just, you know, and remember people, the mayor said he was getting rid of pay-as-you-throw. Guess what? Another lie, another misrepresentation.
I do believe the next mayor that replaces Jazel, no matter who the lucky candidate is, will be able to get rid of the pay-as-you-throw.
He better, because I'll tell you, if not, there's going to be a problem. Because people want this gone already, and the only other way to get rid of it would be by a citizens' initiative petition. That would be it.
Well, you know, the last 3 mayoral campaigns have resulted in the incumbents being thrown out of office, and the one common denominator was always trash.
Right.
So this election will probably be hinging on trash once again.
I guess Fall River's a trashy city, huh?
That's it. Maybe the next mayor will make it a classy city.
Yeah, I hope so. The Community Development Block Grant budget was approved, okay, but FROED's allocation still remains uncertain. The actual funding amount on Friday of last week, the process of completing the annual action plan will be drawn in the next 2 weeks. He's in discussion with the administration regarding CDA's future funding of FROED, and a determination will be forthcoming, said Michael Dion, who is the executive director of the Community Development Agency, which manages the federal funds. This has been a high-profile battle, which we know. Special Assistant Faust Fiore, who should be gone already because he's not a city resident in violation of city ordinance.
Does that make him an illegal immigrant?
He's not. No, now he's an illegal employee.
There you go.
Okay. On behalf of Korea, said an official announcement on the matter will be made in July. You'll notice it's made in July after the budget gets approved.
If the budget gets approved.
If the budget gets approved, all right?
I'll take bets that that budget may not make it.
It may not. Ken Fiola has repeatedly asked the administration whether it will or will not receive the funding and said he has not gotten a reply. Ken, I think the message is you're not getting it, but hey. Obviously, we hope to have the issue resolved by the end of the month. I would think by now the administration would have a clear understanding as to whether or not FROED can continue to deliver economic development services or some other entity will be providing those services, Fiola said. You know, this is going to be interesting, to say the least. And then, of course, the mayor did resign as FROED's ex officio chairman after its board members during an annual meeting accused him of being under FBI and HUD criminal investigation, citing that Fiola had been approached by at his home by investigators. You know, and the mayor's also trying to evict FROED from City Hall. Well, you know what, Mr. Mayor? FROED hasn't paid the rent. Now I want you to start the eviction proceedings on Senator Michael Rodrigues and House Representative Paul Schmidt, because they haven't paid rent either.
And Congressman Kennedy as well.
And yes, and Congressman Kennedy as well. It's time to clean house, Mr. Mayor, or start collecting the rent.
And of course, it's very interesting. If you look on his campaign reports, he does have donations from the committee to elect Paul Schmidt and Mike Rodrigues and Joe Kennedy.
Right.
So, I mean, is that the quid pro quo? You give me a campaign contribution and you get free rent here in the government center?
Well, you know, it looks that way, doesn't it?
I mean, and I found out recently that every job in the city, the mayor has to say okay.
Yes.
Even the guy that cleans the toilets. Like, you know, is that another give me an envelope so you can get the job? I'm just asking a question. I'm not making any accusations.
I hear you.
I wouldn't put myself in that situation. You know, department heads are in place for a reason.
Right.
They got a budget and they got a position. Why can't the human resources director and the department head make the decision without having to go to the mayor? Is that so the mayor can get that envelope on the side? I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
I know. King Philip Mill, this is another albatross that's been hanging around the city's neck with the city police station. So now there's only one potential bidder for the King Philip Mill. That potential bidder just happens to be the mayor's hand-picked development company.
Of course.
Okay? So I'm going to start looking at the campaign finance report shortly to see how much money was donated by the principals or by the people involved in this deal. But they're going to open the bid at $585,000.
And I'll bet you $1.
Tomorrow.
I'll bet you $1 that bid is going to be, since he's the only bidder, that bid's going to be $586,000. $1 more than the minimum bid.
Maybe.
I know if I was the only developer, that would be my bid.
Yep.
It's minimum $585. I'll give you $586.
And here's the funny thing about it. State Representative Alan Sylvia is all for this, where before he was all for demolishing the building.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what? We know where Alan Sylvia is now connected.
Well, we'll have to check his campaign finance reports too.
Yeah, gonna have to start looking at those real closely. So, you know, the Sylvia School, which was sold to David Hebert, or David Hebert's company, which is Hanover Properties
You're
LLC.
talking about the mayor's landlord now.
Yeah, that's also the mayor's landlord. Okay.
Yes.
They have a purchase and sales agreement in place. For the first time, I see a purchase and sales agreement with the city on an as-is property that allows them to check and see if the property is contaminated first to decide whether they want to buy it. That gives them an out for 4 more months. Meanwhile, it took 4 months for the law department to sign a purchase and sale agreement. You know, when I go and buy a property,
Usually as an auction, it's as is, where is, that's it.
But when I go and buy a property, I sit down with the broker, I sign the papers, I put the deposit down, and I go. That's the way it works. How come this guy gets 4 months to decide what he wants to do? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe because he's the mayor's landlord.
Yes, of course.
Maybe because he's the mayor's landlord. This property was being sold as is. To me, that reeks of a potential ethical violation.
Because we know Mr. Hebert is on the campaign contribution list.
And he's also on the campaign.
Yes, he is.
So it's going to be interesting. So, you know, Hebert's working with Ventrone Architecture LLC, again, of Providence. What's RFP stand for? Revenue for Providence. Architect Richard Ventrone has worked on several buildings in Fall River, planning adaptive reuse of historic properties, including, according to Anton Davis, chair of the Fall River Historical Commission. We are especially happy with that, Dias said. We are glad he is proposing using Richard Ventrone. He has done a lot of historic redevelopment projects in the city. If the environmental engineers give the parcel a clean bill of health, Hanover Properties will close the deal and begin work immediately. Number one, I seriously doubt they're going to get a clean bill of health. That before it was a school was, you know.
Is that right off the exit as you come off Hotwell Street? Right there on the right.
It's the eyesore on the entrance to Fall River.
Building office and all that.
Right. So it's, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. One of the biggest complaints that people in this city are having, you know, number one is we don't seem to have a definitive plan on how to handle abandoned properties or city-owned properties, because we sell them and nothing happens to them for years, months. I know when the Duval School was sold, it took over a year for the city to file the deed. Now, when I closed on my house, the deed was filed the next morning.
Yeah, that's normal.
Actually, it may have been filed that afternoon because I closed it. No, it was filed the next morning. I closed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I know it was filed the next morning. But why is it taking so long for these things to get done?
The Corporation Counsel has to leave the 6th floor, drive down to the Registry of Deeds, and hand deliver it and give the fee. Oh, that may be the problem. They didn't have the money.
Oh, they don't have money for
postage.
They don't have money for postage either. Yeah, exactly.
That's the reason they didn't have the money in that account. You know, he's got $168,000 spent on outside legal counsel so far this year. It's only budgeted $150,000. And the Corporation Counsel Monday night at the council meeting says, "Oh, it's okay because I got money over here, but I can't give you this $100,000 that I have in excess because I've already promised that to Mary Sahadi for another project." I mean, nothing like moving money around, you know. And the councilors and I agree with them. I don't see 14% increase in excise taxes. I just cannot see that happening. You know, it's all smoke and mirrors, and this administration is very good.
He hasn't even collected. We're a week away. 24. We're 9 days away from the end of the fiscal year. We still don't have 3/4 of last year's excise taxes collected. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, they have 3/4 of it collected. He has a 14% increase next year for excise taxes. So let's say he collects 75% of that.
So you subtract the 14% increase from the 75, he might be lucky to get 50 next year.
So no, well no, what he'll get is probably, if he's at 75 this year, and these are just numbers, if he's at 75 this year projecting 14% increase, and he only gets 3/4 of that as well, then he's going to be at about 75% next year, which means he's still going to have a huge deficit. Now, this year is 9 days away from closing. 9 days. And we already have deficits in various areas. Does that mean we're going to deficit spend? Oh, wait a minute. I know what may happen. We may not have any free cash.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. What are they going to do? No free cash. We can't do anything.
And then, of course, the bond rates went up with the state.
Right.
So, I mean, that's another issue. It's going to be a very, you know, and if you talk to the person on the street, they're like, boy, this mayor, you know, we were almost into a deficit, you know, almost into receivership, and this mayor came in, and wow, we got all kinds of money. We increased the school budget. We got, certified free cash. We got a rainy day fund, stabilization fund. We got all this money. I'll tell you what, I have never seen anybody better at smoke and mirrors than Jazel Correa II.
He outdoes P.T. Barnum.
He makes Richard Daley look like a saint.
I'm telling you, he outdid P.T. Barnum. It's just amazing.
Barnum and Bailey's closed too early because, he had a great career there.
Yeah, he would have had a great career with Barnum and Bailey. But, as I was saying, the people of Fall River are really up in arms over the fact that the city councilors keep saying that they're just saying the budget's no good. They're not giving them specifics as to why it's no good. Well, we just gave you one, people. 14% revenue increase. Joe Good gave you one, 15.2% increase in revenues, but we're not even meeting 3/4 of what we were scheduled to collect. He even increased the pay-as-you-throw revenue. So that on its face should be enough to tell you this budget is a joke. It's a fairy tale. And I don't want to hear from you people, oh, well, you just don't like the mayor. I'm not basing any decisions on the mayor. I'm not basing my decisions. I'm basing my decisions on what the mayor is presenting.
Exactly.
Okay? And for you,
and his performance.
And his performance. And for people to turn around and say, you just don't like Jazel. I don't like or dislike Jazel. I don't know him well enough to like or dislike him. I'm talking about the office of mayor. I'm not talking about Jazel Correa. And that's what people don't understand. They can't separate the personal from the business.
No, it's all professional. It's nothing personal at all.
Exactly. I can tear him apart as the mayor. And if he wants to sit down over a coffee, I'll be more than happy to sit down over a coffee.
At the Pink Bean, of course.
At the Pink Bean, yes, of course.
Of course.
If it's on his campaign account.
Probably. The mayor's not watching the show today because he's on his way to the National Mayor's Conference with Alex Morse from Holyoke and Richard Coos from Chicopee and Mayor Walsh from Boston. They're all on their way down to the Mayor's Conference, I believe, in Miami Beach. The article I read this morning said that Marty Walsh will be hosting that meeting next year. So I wonder how he's going to write that trip off to Boston.
I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, I have a problem because in his campaign finance report, he put $430 some odd down for a hotel stay in Washington, D.C.
That was an airline ride.
Oh, an airline ride, excuse me.
To go and to the celebration of the Patriots at the White House.
Right. Now,
last I knew, not one single Patriot lives in Fall River.
Right. But not only that, campaign finance money is only to be spent to build up the campaign's or the candidate's appearance and profession in the form of his duties or in the accomplishments to attain his office.
To enhance his campaign.
To enhance his campaign. Going to the White House with 150,000 other people to say, yay, the Patriots won the Super Bowl is not enhancing your campaign. To me, that's personal. That is not professional. That is not campaign oriented.
And there's no proof he was there.
Well, that's another thing because, again, you have to be cleared by Secret Service.
Yep.
So it will be.
If he's under and if he is in fact under FBI investigation, like everybody says he is, I doubt the Secret Service would have cleared him to go get that close to President Donald J. Trump.
I don't think he would get that clearance, but that's another story. It's just interesting to see how, for some reason, we present this information to you viewers, and we're very clear on it. We checked out our numbers. We've had other actuarials look over it. We've had other people look over this. They've cited various areas where there's some serious shortfalls.
And the viewers, if you don't believe that if you think we're making this information up, www.ocpf.us, type in the candidate's name in the box at the right, and you can see every bank account for the mayoral and city council races in Fall River for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it's itemized. I mean, we have certain people running for office that have NSF charges on their bank accounts, which is interesting. We have other people who have a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, and they characterize it as consultation with the constituent. Yep. And the amount's $5, which is 2 coffees at Dunkin' Donuts. So I mean,
But
That's legal.
That's right. Consultation with the constituents legal. But again, as for NSF charges, and for those of you who don't know, that's insufficient funds or non-sufficient funds in the account. That happens occasionally on campaign accounts. It does. It shouldn't, but it does, especially if you're a financial wizard. But you know, the problem is that, you know, when Jazel was running, he did that a couple of times too. And a lot of people, a lot of campaigns have done it, and they're willing to pay the.
And of course, they blame their treasurer.
Right, they blame the treasurer, and they're willing to pay the $25 or $35 or $45 insufficient fund charge. But I would highly suggest that all our viewers go to the ocpf.us website, review those campaign finance reports, find out where your candidate is spending money and how they're spending it.
And it also lists all the campaign contributions.
Oh yeah, then you'll definitely know who's giving it.
And I'll tell you, if you want to find the staff directory for Government Center, just look at some of the campaign contribution lists.
Right, well that's a given. And the one thing that hasn't been able to be proven for some time is that city employees are violating the law and they're selling tickets and soliciting funds for incumbent mayors. Not just this mayor, don't get me wrong, this has been an ongoing problem for years. I know it exists, many other people know it exists. The problem is you can never prove it.
Well, there was a city employee who was taking cash for tickets at a fundraiser for her husband's campaign.
Right.
And they got their slap.
Right. and you know what?
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, and you know what? It's quite possible that because it was her husband, that individual.
She's still a municipal employee. And
I understand that, but they probably thought it was okay, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. But you know, I got blamed for that, and I didn't even do it.
I know you didn't. So it's just like you know, when you get nomination papers for office, you're not allowed to go office to office in Government Center and have employees sign. That's illegal.
Right. That's illegal.
Matter of fact, if you attend a meeting and you have your nomination papers with you, you're not allowed to have those nomination papers signed inside a governmental building.
Right.
Just like right here. And I think we should put out a contest, and I think you should give the email address for Spindle City Straight Talk, and we want our viewers to let us know which state agency Jazel Carrera will end up getting the job in January after he is no longer in office. So that he can get a bridge named after him.
Yeah, really. It's going to be interesting.
Is it going to be UMass Dartmouth, or is it going to be BCC?
Well, I believe he only has a baccalaureate, so he can't work or teach in
No, but he could be, you know, a custodian or something, or a locksmith, or run the food service or something.
Yeah, that's true. But
although you know how good he is at running a business.
But remember, that's only
Who?
Remember, that's only if he doesn't get reelected, and we don't know where that's going to happen. You know, it's very interesting to see how this whole election is panning out, because right now the only primary we're going to have is for mayor, because there's not enough people running for school committee and there's not enough people running for city council. I think we're up to 15 or 16 people running for city council. We're still at 5 for school committee, and for
5 on a board of 6, correct?
Right, for a board of 6, and one of them, from what I've been told, and I don't know how accurate that may be, doesn't speak fluent English, which could be a plus or a minus. I don't know.
You know, the interesting part about that is the school committee meetings with the interpreter would be very interesting, because that's not in the budget.
Right, and it'll have to go into the budget. And about the budget, real quick. We don't have time actually, but I'll tell you now. The school department budget was just a shift in money again, and we talked about that previously. So remember that when you're dealing with some of that aggravation.
Don't miss the meeting tonight.
No, please don't.
6 o'clock, Government Center, be there or be square.
Have a great day, and we will talk with you on Friday.
And Chip should be back on Friday.